It is time to finalize your bet slips for Super Bowl 56 between the Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals, because we are just a couple of days away now, which means we got to get you set for this big game on Sunday. Let you know our favorite bets for Sunday's game. Welcome on into the FanDuel Live Q&A. That's right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter channels. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberfire.com. Joined here once again by Brandon Gdula and Jessica Gridiron. Jessica is on Twitter at Gridiron and Wine. Jessica, welcome back once again. How are you doing on this glorious, glorious Super Bowl Eve?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. And, it's just that thrill of the game is almost here. So it's exciting. Sunday can't come soon enough.
I know. I think 2 weeks is too much to diagnose an entire game. The good thing is I can dig in a lot, but there's only so far I can go. So I'm ready for this game to kick off on Sunday for sure. Brandon Gdula is the managing editor of numberfire.com. You can find him on Twitter at Gdula13. And Brandon, we talked about the DFS side of things yesterday. We're breaking down the betting side here today. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm glad that it's Friday. I've been looking forward to this game for 2 weeks, but like you said, I've been digging into stuff. So I've convinced myself of basically every possible outcome. I've looked at all these stats and I'm like, well, this is the key to the game. Then I forget about that because I find something else. And it's like, that's the key to this game.
Yeah.
So I'm ready just to kind of get some takes out here with all the research I've done. And then just from there, wait and see what happens on Sunday.
The key to the game is one of those custodial engineer keychains that has a key to every room in the entire building on at this point. So that's where we're at in the analysis portion of all this. We are of course here live on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter pages, as we are pretty often. So make sure you are subscribed on your platform of choice. We do have NBA DFS streams every Wednesday with Tom Vecchio. So a lot of good stuff still to come here. Baseball just around the corner, maybe some special streams in between as well. So hit subscribe wherever you prefer watching. Also, we're going to take some questions throughout the stream for today. So if you've got questions about some props you're looking at, maybe not so sure on, want to hear our thoughts on, put them in chat. Again, wherever you're watching, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, does not matter. Put those questions in. We'll get to them on the air later on today. But let's start things off here on the broad level and talk about the game on the whole, because the way we view the game will influence our props for today and for Sunday. So, Jessica, I want to start with you because I've not heard your thoughts on this game yet. We have the Rams -4, Bengals +4 with a total of 48.5. How do you see this game playing out? Any read on those more traditional markets for you?
Yeah, I mean, originally this line is, I don't really like that it's at -4. And I guess even you mentioned we have this 2 weeks. So at first I was like, oh, Bengals. And I usually love taking the dogs. But then as the time went on, you have more time to think, you have more time to analyze, and you sit there and go, well, it's the Rams. They have the better, the Bengals have been the dream team, and believe me, I was kind of high on them seeing them in the Super Bowl, but now that they're actually here and they're going up against the Rams, it's the Rams. It comes down to defense, and the Rams, they have the better defense, especially, in my opinion, of course, according to DVOA and EPA, all across the board. And then they have their offense too. They have a powerhouse offense, and Matthew Stafford, when he doesn't throw an interception, he plays really well, So in the end, I'm liking the Rams. I'm taking them at -4. I'm gonna play that, and I'm actually, if we're playing our little game today,
let's do it.
I'm gonna throw a unit on that. That's how confident I am. And as long as the Rams can continue to run the ball, they'll be able to win this game if they can control the clock and keep the ball out of that dream team, like we've seen. I feel like they'll be able to win this game, and they'll be able to cover.
Okay, so we are going to do the game we've played in the previous week. So if you have not watched our previous streams, what we do here on the show, on the Friday show, is we each have 3 units to allocate however we want across this one game. And whoever has the most units at the end of the Super Bowl will win the contest. So Jessica's first bet is 1 unit on the Rams, -4 at -112 over at FanDuel Sportsbook. What about for you, Brandon? What are you seeing here in the traditional markets for Rams versus Bengals?
Yeah, I'm going to stay away from an actual recommendation in terms of the over-under, the spread, and the money line. My numbers have this about 4.4 points in favor of the Rams. So that's not enough for me to want to get there. And it's actually 4.5 on Fox Bet, for example. It's been sitting at 4 on FanDuel Sportsbook pretty much, for 2 weeks now. So I don't think there's enough for me to want to get on the spread. I think that the total is about right, which is never fun to say. Like, I think this is super efficient, but my numbers are about 0.8 points low on the over-under, so I don't really want to go that route either. I also would rather not root for an under in this game, although a lot of the value on the props, I think, do come on unders based on the odds associated with them. My baseline assumption for this game is going to be that the Rams get out ahead early because of the early game tendencies for these two teams. And that's going to drive things. But as far as the overall markets go, I'm not seeing a whole lot that I would put any units on for our game.
Yeah, I have Rams minus 4.2 in my numbers as well. So it does lean towards Jessica's side of having the Rams being the better side here. Not enough for me to actually take it, though. I think the total's pretty efficient as well. So stay away from me. And I think that, like, honestly, it's just kind of, it's there for a reason is my read on this. So I think that it makes a lot of sense that the things have settled in where they are. We'll dig into some props here in a second. But first, let's go to the comments over on YouTube. Grim Fan asking about Super Bowl bingo. So you go to FanDuel, you click on the free-to-play tab. That's where you can enter in the bingo for Super Bowl 56. And the fun thing is if you've got like a Super Bowl party at your house and some people there maybe are not super into football, they can play along with Super Bowl bingo as a way to like kind of have some fun, fun along there as well. So you got people who don't care as much about the game, totally fine. Haven't played some Super Bowl bingo, try to get some free prizes there. Also, $56,000 Super Showdown presented by Irish Spring. That is a single game contest over on FanDuel, the fantasy side of things. Brandon and I broke down the single game DFS slate yesterday on the Heat Check Fantasy Podcast. You can find that over on the FanDuel YouTube page, but also up on the Number Fire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed. Okay, Born to Laugh is wondering, any offensive lineman to score a receiving touchdown game prop, yay or nay? I'm going to go nay here. Just I can't see it happening. Jessica, can you talk me into an offensive lineman scoring a receiving touchdown this game? Because I'm not going there.
No, if the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl, that'd be another question, but a possible outcome for me. But I don't know. I don't really see it happening. Yeah, I'd be a nay. I'd be a nay in this game.
Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy might score 2 offensive lineman touchdowns because they love cooking up some weird stuff. Brandon, I'm going to ask you about this one then. Born to Laugh wants to know total individual touchdown scores over 4.5. So looking at like the anytime touchdown markets and stuff like that, where do you fall on this one?
Okay, so my baseline assumption for this total is 27-20. I think we're going to get some field goals based on how these coaches make decisions. So I think that I'm going to stick with the under on 4.5 total touchdown scores for this game.
Okay, so let's go with Grim Fan over here. First touchdown scorer trio. Any of Cooper Kupp, Joe Mixon, T. Higgins to score the first touchdown at 2-1. Okay, so let's go to the first touchdown market over here. We've got Cooper Kupp at 5-1. We've got Joe Mixon at plus 750, and then T. Higgins at 11-1. I can't quite get there at 2-1 personally. I don't think that's quite long enough for me to buy in. I'm guessing that that's like enhanced odds from what you get here, but I don't think that the numbers fully encapsulate things, so I'm okay staying away from that one personally. I know it's boring to say no, but like also just no for me here. Okay, Grim Fan, total individual Cincinnati Bengals touchdown scores over 2.5 plus 190. I think the issue here is, A, you have to assume 2 things. You have to assume both that they score at least 3 touchdowns and that those touchdowns are different. When Joe Mixon scores every touchdown, you're going to hit an under here. So I think that's my hang up here is I can't quite get there. The good thing is, it is plus 190. So maybe, Jessica, we can get there at plus 190. I need a little bit more than that personally. What about you on this one?
Yeah, I feel like I would lean away from, I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to throw anything on that. When it comes down to touchdowns, though, I do have, there is one that I do like for anytime
let's
touchdown.
Do it. Let's do it.
I feel like is possible. And I feel like anytime touchdown with Cam Akers at minus 105 right now, I think that would be a good prop bet to take because, the Rams, they're going to be able to get down. They're going to be able to get down. They're going to want to control the ball. Sorry. They're going to want to control the clock. Let's see if I can talk today. And they're going to want to get down to the end zone. And then they just need to rely on Cam Akers to be able to punch it in. So I feel like that would be a good safe bet to make on anytime touchdown.
Okay, so Jessica has Cam Akers at plus 100. I previously had Joe Mixon. He was plus 115 last week. Then he was plus 110 earlier this week. He's now even money. I think that is shortened to the point where it's no longer a situation where I want to dive in. I will say on this anytime touchdown market, Odell Beckham is plus 130 here, but there is an odds boost up or over on FanDuel you can boost 2-1. I would take that there if I can get it at 2-1, but at plus 130, not quite getting there. With where the numbers currently stand, I think the interesting one to me is Sony Michel at plus 290, not to, going against the Cam Akers one. But I think that Michel actually had a decent red zone role in that conference championship game. He was in for 4 out of 6 snaps when they were within 12 yards of the goal line, and Akers in for 2. Now, I think that part of the reason why you could buy into Akers is say, hey, he got hurt in that game, and maybe that's why they were limiting him there. So that's why you could still buy into Akers, and that's why I think that the one Jessica's talking about makes sense. But Michel could be that guy there, could be the third down back. I think with where the odds currently stand right now, my favorite anytime touchdown scorer would probably be Michel at plus 290. It's either him or Tyler Boyd at plus 250. I think guys like Mixon are now efficient. I would not go there. What about you, Brandon? What's your read on the touchdown score market right now over at FanDuel?
So I'm not a big touchdown prop guy just because it's a high variance outcome.
Because you hate fun. You hate fun. Just say
that's the other part of it. I do hate fun.
I know.
So my numbers have Joe Mixon about 54% likely to score. So there's a little bit of value on him still at plus 100. So I'm all right with that. His red zone roll has been awesome. 91% in the red zone in terms of their rushing share. 48% of their overall red zone plays have gone to Mixon. So I still think that I could get behind that. As for the Rams, I like Van Jefferson. Is he still plus 295?
He's 320. He got boosted.
Okay. So so I have him about 24% likely to score. That makes him a value of plus 295. So that'll be even better at the new odds. And I just said I don't like touchdown props too much because it's high variance. That gets even more complicated whenever you say this guy's got to score first. But Van at plus 1,800 when I last looked, I had to score first. I thought that was a fun way to maybe start off the game with a small bet. Get some action to Van. He scored as many times as Cooper Kupp to kick off the Rams games this entire season.
And Van did get a full practice in on Thursday for the first time since before the divisional round. So that's a plus as well. Healthier than he was previously. Tyler Higbee's banged up. May be enough to funnel some more work over Van Jefferson's way. While we're on the touchdown prop market, DJ's asking about Samaje Perine at 7-1. Now, Samaje Perine did score during the conference championship, but it was on a long, kind of busted play. And like you said, Brandon, Joe Mixon has had a tremendous role in the red zone. If we look during the playoffs, a 48% red zone share, so percentage of carries or targets inside the red zone for this team. I think 7-1 would need to be a bit longer for me to get there. So no Samaje Perine for me personally in the touchdown markets. Let's go now to the passing props and talk about these quarterbacks. We got Matthew Stafford versus Joe Burrow, and these markets have held pretty steady throughout the week. So I want to talk to you, Jessica. We got Joe Burrow 278.5, Matthew Stafford 283.5, and also some passing attempt numbers, et cetera, et cetera. When you look at the quarterback props, anything standing out for you?
Yeah, actually, I like Joe Burrow with most pass attempts at minus 110.
Okay.
I just feel like they're going to be trailing a lot, and they're going to have to rely on Burrow to be able to throw the ball, and they're going to have to abandon the run game because they're going to have to try and keep up and put points up on the board to try and stay with the Rams. Another one I also really like too is over 1.5 total interceptions at minus 110.
Yes.
I just feel like both of them are known to throw interceptions. They've actually have done it 11 times in the 20 games this season. And I just feel like, again, if something big happens and either team is going to have to try and get back in this game, what are they going to do? They're going to rely on the quarterback to be able to throw the ball. They're going to probably force some plays that maybe are not the best decision. And in return, some interceptions will happen.
Yeah, I think that I can get behind that one as well. I actually hope that your Burrow to lead in pass attempts one is correct, because one of my bets for our game is that Joe Burrow will go over 36.5 attempts. That is minus 106 over at FanDuel Sportsbooks. We're on the same page here. It's in part because I do agree where, again, if my numbers had the Rams by 4, that implies they could trail. But also, I think the Bengals will be more aggressive than maybe than FanDuel is saying they will be here, given the fact that they have been a bit more pass heavy at times during the playoffs. Their early down first half pass rate over the past 5 games with Burrow is 66%. Their full season mark was 59%. So they've been more pass heavy. And I think that could lead to getting Burrow over 36.5. He's gone over that in 4 of the past 5 games. So personally, I think that's a good bet. And I will make that one of my unit bets for our game. Burrow over 36.5. So Jessica and I both riding Joe Burrow overs or riding with Joe Burrow to drop back quite a bit here, Brandon. What about you? What are you seeing in the passing markets?
I got a Joe Burrow under.
I can tell by their laughing. Yeah, they're snickering.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you had that like Brandon look on your face, like about to bust out the contrarian boy here.
Right?
Yeah, but it's on the completions. So then I chose completions specifically under 24.5 at minus 122 because I don't want to bet against Burrow's volume or yardage because he's got the high leverage receivers that he can throw to. And get a lot of yards after catch. But in terms of completions, Burrow is having an outlier season in completion rate over expectation based on both NFL's next gen stats model, NFL Fasters model. He is like top 20 since 1999 in completion rate over expected. So you throw that in against this Rams defense, which is top 5 in completion rate over expected allowed. I think that, yes, I'm playing this angle that the Bengals will have to throw. I do think that the Rams will be able, as Jessica mentioned, to establish that run a bit, which I don't normally advocate for, but it seems like something that they would like to do. Keep the Bengals off the field. So I think that Burrow could still have a high yardage output, throw it a lot, but he might not have the completion rate that we're looking for just based on this matchup and some regression. But for a unit for this game, I'm going to stick with the passing prop here and go with the under on Matthew Stafford's attempts, 36.5 minus 114. Both of these teams have actually been slower than the NFL average in the playoffs. If you adjust for game context, it's about 2 seconds slower than the NFL average per play. That stuff adds up. And if we have the Rams playing from ahead, I think that they don't necessarily need to get Stafford 37 pass attempts to win this game. And they've been a little bit more run heavy in the red zone as well in the playoffs. It's kind of strange for them because they were so pass heavy in the regular season. And with all 3 running backs now in the mix, kind of just playing the angle that the Rams do play from ahead and that they don't have to rely on Stafford. Yeah, I think Stafford's going to be efficient, but I think that the volume might not be there for him to get 37 attempts.
Plus, if you're efficient, you don't have to throw as much. So that could actually lead to an under here as well. And you look at the Bengals against the Chiefs, they were dropping into coverage. Could see the same thing here because you don't really want to blitz Stafford with how good he is against the blitz. And that could lead to more rush attempts. So I could see this one hit going under as well for Matthew Stafford. We got a breaking news comment here from Grim Fan. We'll call him Grim Schefter from now on, or call them Grim Schefter. Tyler Higbee ruled out for Sunday. So the Van Jefferson numbers, more enticing. I'm curious if that will move with Higbee being ruled out. I just want to check on Jefferson. He's still 33.5 from a yardage perspective, so maybe we'll check back on that later. But Tyler Higbee ruled out. That's good for Van props, I think. Kendall Blanton, I'm less into. He had 4 targets across 2 games when Higbee was out in weeks 14 and 15. Did have 5 last week, but I'm not sure if that was with Bryson Hopkins inactive, and I'd expect him to be active for this time. So I would be a little bit wary of that one. Jacob is also talking about some Joe Burrow props, like the total under 48.5 and Burrow over 10.5 rushing yards. We had someone, I don't recall actually who it was. Someone on Thursday was talking about, I think it might have been Ryan Williams, talking about Burrow's rushing yardage over. So he is on board with you there as well. Jacob, let's move over to the receiving yardage props and maybe talk about some Van Jefferson a bit more, starting off with you, Brandon. Anything you're seeing in the receiving yardage numbers that you like right now?
Yeah, actually 2 overs, so I'll buck the trend here for me. But Van over 33.5. So if you can still get that while it is where it is, I have it 72% likely that he goes over that based on my baseline projections. I know it doesn't take a whole lot though, and Van is also a high ADOT receiver, so he could probably get there in 1 catch. And last game, Van actually had more air yards than Cooper Kupp on 5 targets compared to Kupp's 14, which it just sort of goes to show that his role is still really good. There's some volatility with Van, but I like his over. And for another unit for our game, I'm going to go with an over on Tyler Boyd, 42.5 for minus 110 odds. So according to Pro Football Focus, Jalen Ramsey has played the most coverage snaps from the slot among all Rams defenders. He's allowed 0.84 yards per coverage snap. All other Rams have allowed 1.11. The NFL average is a 1.19. So it's basically a league average matchup. Ramsey's going to bump out of the slot to focus on Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. CG Uzama is not going to be 100%, even if he says he's going to play, but can't imagine that he's 100%. And Tyler Boyd has run around on 83% of the dropbacks for the Bengals in the playoffs. So I think there's going to be a lot of work for Tyler Boyd over the middle in this game.
Yeah, and Ramsey's played in the slot, I think, less than 10% of the snaps during the playoffs. So I think that is probably the right way to view things, where it will not be Ramsey out there, probably going with Chase and Higgins on the outside. So I think that would work well as well. So Brandon is on Van Jefferson and Tyler Boyd overs. What about you, Jessica? What are you seeing, if any, value in the receiving yardage markets?
I stayed away from the receiving yards for this game, but I do have some rushing yards. So I'll let you,
perfect.
Once we get to the rushing, I'll be able to chime in here. But when it came to receiving, there's nothing that really stuck out to me.
I got to echo you there. There's nothing in the receiving yardage market that actually stands out to me. So we're actually on the same page there with it not being the best market. So let's slide it over to the rushing yardage market, where I actually have 2 bets that I like for our game. I had the Burrow pass attempt one, and I like both of these numbers, the rushing plus receiving yardage numbers. I like the Nixon over at 88.5, and I like the Akers under at 83.5. Nixon, he actually was up at like 95 last week, and this came down to 90 earlier on this week, and it went down to 87.5 on Wednesday. Back up to 88.5 now. I do still think there is value on that number with where it currently stands. So I think that the Nixon over is the way to go with this market. As far as Akers go, again, it's a worry about Michelle working in on third downs. It's a worry about Darrell Henderson being back. I think there are a couple of things that factor in here that lead me towards an under for Cam Akers. So I got Nixon over 88.5, Akers under. But Jessica, what are you seeing here on the rushing side of things?
Yeah, so when it comes to rushing, my favorite play is taking Joe Mixon under 60.5 rushing yards at minus 115.
Perfect.
Again, going back to, I feel like they're going to be trailing most of this game, and they're going to have to abandon that run game. And then, like I mentioned earlier, they're going to have to rely on Joe Burrow and his arm and be able to keep up with this defense because, like I said, they're going to be struggling all game. And if they want to continue to be in it, this is like they're going to have to rely on Joe being able to throw those balls, throw a couple interceptions, so I can hit my other prop. And I'm not saying they're going to get destroyed by any means, but I feel like they are just going to have to rely more on the pass than the run. And with that, Joe Mixon's not going to be able to hit that 60.5.
Well, I like that your props mesh really well together, because you have the Burrow attempt number. You have a lot of pass attempts for him. You have the interception number, which is correlated to pass attempts, and you have Mixon under rushing yards. So your props play well together. They're getting along on the playground, stuff like that. So I think that's a positive for sure, because you're giving yourself upside. If you're right in your assumption that the Bengals trail, that's going to lead to this cascading effect where it increases the odds that your props. It was kind of that kind of thought process that played in for you, trying to essentially tie them together. So if you're right on one thing, you can be right on all things at the same time.
Yeah, and I actually, with that being said, I kind of have a 4-leg parlay that I liked that I went along with it, basically. So with the 4-leg, I have Joe Mixon under 60.5 rushing yards.
Okay.
I have the anytime touchdown Cam Akers. I have anytime touchdown Jamar Chase, because it's Jamar Chase, and we know how well him and Burrow have been all season and their chemistry, and it's a Super Bowl and magical things. I feel like something will happen, and we're going to see this amazing catch. Let's hope it's from Jamar Chase, and that
it would be shocking to see that, right? Jamar Chase doing something cool.
I know, yeah, exactly. And then Rams minus 2.5. So with, like I mentioned earlier, that 4 is a little high, but a field goal to me could easily cover in this game, and it's at plus 968. And I feel like if you want to, throw some money on a fun parlay, I feel like that would be a good one to take.
Man, we're getting creative. I love it, but also like it's not anything outlandish. Like you're not going with anything that doesn't mesh well together. Because again, if the Bengals fall behind, that leads to more pass attempts, which leads to more touchdown chances for Jamar Chase, leads to fewer rush attempts for Joe Mixon. If the Rams are ahead, that's more for Cam Akers. Akers meshes well with the Rams -2.5. So again, thinking about the way your props intertwine, I think is a smart way to play things here. So I think that's pretty interesting as well. Let's go to Brandon here. Brandon, rushing yardage numbers or rushing props in general, anything of value to you there?
So the Cam Akers rushing attempts market at 16.5. The odds on the under are -144, but even if you account for that, I still see some value there with what my model is showing, just because we're looking at what is supposed to be the hot hand approach. And based on what we saw last game, I think that Sony Michel should have the first chance to show that he's got the hot hand. He's got some playoff experience. Cam Akers has really underperformed from an efficiency standpoint. I could see him being a factor. I don't really see him getting 17 carries. So I think that's a pretty safe one. But because not a lot of mine are very fun, I have one that's fun, but I think also makes sense. And it's over 5.5 rushing yards for Matthew Stafford at -110. Stafford's run for 22, 6, and 8 yards on 4, 6, and 5 attempts in the playoffs. The Bengals are 27th in rushing success rate allowed to quarterbacks this season, according to Number Fire's metrics. Ryan Tannehill had 12 against them. Derek Carr had 20 on one play. Mahomes had 19. I think that if it comes down to Matthew Stafford picking up a first down, he's capable of doing that. He just doesn't do it very often.
Yeah.
We also see him. He's got 3 goal line carries in the playoffs. So I think that they're fine getting a little bit more, carefree with what Matthew Stafford is doing. So I think Stafford over 5.5 is kind of fun, and it also makes sense to me with one scramble to pick up a first down.
I feel like you're just like a secret like Stafford rushing truther. Like you just like hang out like deep in your like a basement, like watching Matthew Stafford like rush attempts tape. I think that's that in my head canon. That's what happened.
Look, I love Matthew Stafford, so and I think this one makes sense though.
Okay, so let's open up the vault here and talk about some fun props because DJ has one that I refuse to bet. So I'm not going to have any thoughts on this. I have thoughts. I'm just not going to bet it. Okay, DJ wants to know the color of the Gatorade at the end. And the correct answer, DJ, is not listed. The correct answer is lime. It will be lime, guaranteed. Don't bet that based on my recommendation. I'm just saying this is a hot take. I want to be clear. This is not betting recommendation. Like I need a disclaimer on the bottom, Cal. That says this is not a betting recommendation. Don't actually do that. But lime green is the actual color of the Gatorade, guaranteed. Jessica, hot takes about Gatorade. Go.
Purple, even though it's only like purple, I think like 28% of the time or something like, I don't know, something crazy like that. That's just my favorite color. So when it comes to that, I'm choosing my favorite color.
We got purple. 2 purple pens, a purple mug. Go Cats. I'm on board with that as well. Brandon, Gatorade color takes. Go. Give DJ what he wants.
Never fade tails on the coin toss and never fade lemon lime Gatorade.
So it's -104 on the head on the coin toss. I'm assuming that you would actually do like an alternate market. Like if you could hypothetically just like you drop 120 on tails if you had to, right?
I mean, it's always a lock, right?
Yeah. Obviously, tails never fails. Grim Fan is also asking about a yardage prop, 760.5. I have not personally delved into this market. I'm guessing neither of you have either. If you have, you can shout out, but I have no real read on this one personally.
Yeah,
I have not.
Right there with you. No.
Sorry, Grim Fan. Sorry to let you down. We can't quite get there on our sides. We got a pick here from 5280. Hazy, Cincinnati going to beating the Chiefs in my Super Bowl. Sad Broncos fan. So you got the Chiefs out of the Super Bowl. Congratulations to you, 5280 Hazy, which means you can sit back and enjoy on Sunday as the game unfolds. That is all that we have here for today on our final live stream of the 2022 or 2021, I guess, NFL season. I just got used to saying 2022 and now I'm mixing myself up. Anyway, Super Bowl 56 coming up on Sunday. Jessica, any final thoughts for you before we close up shop for today?
Yeah, one cool little fun, interesting thing I found out was White jersey teams are 34-20 all time straight up, which is 63%. The Rams are wearing white. So they're 14-3 straight up in the last 17 Super Bowls. So something to keep in mind. I know it's one of those trends, but hey, that's another reason why I was like, I'll take the Rams.
Do you want to know the most important part of that, though, is that they're not wearing those stupid bone jerseys, the like bone colored jerseys. Like, it's like an off-white. It looks terrible. So, like, the most important thing is they are wearing white and not bone. So I agree that actually does matter. If they were in bone, Bengals all the way. But if it's white, we're fine. I'm okay with that. That's Jessica Gridiron. You can find her on Twitter at Gridiron and Wine. Brandon Gdula is at Gdula13. Brandon, any final thoughts for you for Bengals versus Rams?
My last unit is Rams to score first, -126. The Bengals are not very good to start games. The Rams are significantly better, so that's the route I'm going.
Just hating on Joe Burrow. That's all I hear here. I wore the orange.
It's not
Joey
Burrow.
B.
It's not Burrow so much.
You hate Zach Taylor. Okay, I get it. Okay. Actually, I wore the orange for Joe Mixon. He will be the MVP for your FanDuel single game contest. Highest score in the game. You heard it here first. That is all that we have here for today. I'm on Twitter at JimSannes, JimSannes. Big thank you to Calvin Theobald, our video producer, for running the video side of things here today. Thank you, Cal, as always. Thank you all for tuning in, not just today, but for the entire postseason. Enjoy Super Bowl 56. Have fun. Go in some bets. We'll talk to you all once again soon. This has been the FanDuel Live Q&A.